Hey everyone! So, I need to talk about something that just happened in Washington, and if you buy your own health insurance, this is going to hit you hard. Congress just went home for the holidays without extending the tax credits that have been keeping millions of people's health insurance affordable. We're talking about the enhanced ACA subsidies that helped over 20 million Americans pay their premiums. And if you're one of those people, you might have already gotten your notice for 2026 and seen a number that made your stomach drop. Because for a lot of families, this wasn't extra help. This was the only reason they could afford insurance at all. So right now, people are facing some really tough decisions about their coverage, their budgets, and what happens if they get sick. And I want to break down exactly what's going on and what your options are. For those of you who are new here, welcome to Retirees Info. My name is Frank, and I've spent years helping people navigate government benefits, assistance programs, and financial crises like this one. I've been covering the Affordable Care Act since these enhanced tax credits were first introduced, and I knew this deadline was coming. I just hope Congress would do something about it. They didn't, but that doesn't mean you're helpless. So, let's talk through this together. Let me explain what actually happened because the headlines don't always make it clear. For the last few years, a lot of people buying their own health insurance, not through a job, not through Medicare or Medicaid, were getting bigger tax credits to help pay their monthly premiums. These are called enhanced ACA tax credits, and they quietly did a lot of good. Monthly costs went down, enrollment went way up, and the number of uninsured Americans dropped to some of the lowest levels we've seen in years. For many people, especially older adults not yet on Medicare, self-employed workers, gig workers, and early retirees, this was the difference between having insurance and going without. And then Congress didn't renew them. As of January 1st, those extra credits expire. No extension, no temporary bridge, just gone. I want to be really clear here. This wasn't a surprise deadline. Everyone in Washington knew this was coming. They just didn't agree on what to do about it. And eventually, they left town anyway. Now, a lot of people ask me, okay, so what does that actually mean for regular people, like in real dollars? And this is where it gets uncomfortable. If you were getting help with your premiums, you may see your monthly costs go up by $50, maybe $100, maybe $150. For some households, especially those just above the old income cutoff, the increase could be much higher. In some cases, over $1,000 a month more. And I know that sounds extreme, but for people who lose subsidies entirely, that's the math. And here's the part that's really tough. When premiums jump like that, people don't just say, okay, I'll cut back somewhere else. They drop coverage. Analysts estimate that 2 to 5 million people could lose health insurance because of this. Not because they don't want coverage, but because they simply can't afford it anymore. I was reading about a couple in Tennessee. They're starting a small nonprofit doing something genuinely good, and under the expanded credits, one of them paid $0 a month for insurance. Zero. Now, even the cheapest plan would cost them money they don't have. So they're planning to go uninsured, and their backup plan is basically hoping they don't get sick, paying cash when they can, and using the emergency room if things go really wrong. That's not some fringe situation. That's about to become normal for a lot of people. And I've seen comments like this on this channel before. People saying, I did everything right, I worked, I saved, I followed the rules, and I still can't afford healthcare. And yeah, I hear you. This situation really highlights how fragile coverage can be when it depends on policy deadlines. So, how did we get here? Well, this part is political, but I'll try to keep it grounded. Democrats pushed hard to extend the credits, especially during the long government shutdown earlier this year. Republicans who currently control Congress did not agree to extend them as is. Some Republicans argue that these subsidies are too expensive and that they prop up a system they see as flawed from the start. They prefer things like health savings accounts and high-deductible plans where people have more direct control over spending. Now, even within the Republican Party, there wasn't total agreement. Some lawmakers from competitive districts openly warned that letting the credits expire would hurt their constituents. A few even broke with party leadership and tried to force a vote. That's rare, and it tells you how real the concern is. But leadership didn't move, and eventually Congress reopened the government without addressing this issue, then left town. President Trump signed a major tax and spending package earlier this year, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That law extended tax cuts and made changes to programs like Medicaid and SNAP, but it did not extend the ACA tax credits. The administration has largely stayed quiet on this specific issue, emphasizing market-based healthcare ideas instead. Some advisors reportedly worry about political fallout. Others believe staying firm aligns with long-held conservative goals. For now, the White House seems content to let Congress handle it. And while Washington debates philosophy, real people are doing math at their kitchen tables. Another thing to consider is what this does to hospitals and clinics. When people lose insurance, they don't stop getting sick. They delay care, skip medications, and show up later with more serious problems. Community health centers are expecting more patients. Charities that provide free or discounted medications are already bracing for higher demand. Rural hospitals, many of which are already struggling, could see more unpaid bills. And that strain doesn't stay contained. It affects wait times, staffing, and costs for everyone. This also hits harder in certain states. There are still states that never expanded Medicaid. In those places, low-income adults often don't qualify for Medicaid and now won't be able to afford marketplace plans either. Experts estimate uninsured rates in those states could jump by 50% or more. That's huge. So then what happens next? In the short term, honestly, it's messy. Open enrollment already happened. Some people already chose plans based on prices that are now outdated. Others dropped coverage entirely once they saw the new numbers. Now, there may be votes when Congress returns, possibly even an attempt to retroactively restore subsidies, but that's uncertain. And even if something passes later, the gap in coverage and stress in the meantime is very real. Longer term, this whole situation brings us back to a bigger question that never really goes away. How do we make healthcare affordable in this country sustainably without people falling through the cracks every time a temporary policy expires? Republicans argue the system costs too much and needs more consumer responsibility. Democrats argue that access itself should be protected and that subsidies work. And meanwhile, healthcare spending overall keeps rising regardless of which program you look at. You see, what people often think is that this is just about Obamacare, but it's not. Employer plans are expensive, Medicare faces long-term funding issues, Medicaid budgets are under pressure. This is a system-wide problem. The ACA credits just happen to be one of the few tools that directly lowered monthly costs for people buying insurance on their own. And guess what? Polls show most Americans actually support extending these credits. Healthcare consistently ranks as one of the top concerns for voters. So politically, this issue isn't going away. It may show up again in campaign ads, town halls, and debates over the next year. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, what can I actually do right now? First, if you have marketplace insurance, double-check your premium and your options. Sometimes plan changes or income updates can help a bit, even without the enhanced credits. Second, if you're considering dropping coverage, look into community health centers in your area. They often offer care on a sliding scale. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Third, stay informed. Policy changes can happen quickly, and being aware gives you at least some ability to respond. What I'll say, and this is more personal, is that healthcare stress is one of the most emotionally draining kinds of stress there is. It mixes money, health, and fear in a way that's hard to ignore. If you're feeling frustrated or anxious about this, that reaction makes total sense. You're not overreacting. Look, I know this video covered a lot of uncomfortable ground. The reality is that millions of people are about to face higher costs, difficult choices, and real fear about what happens if they get sick. That's not abstract policy talk, that's real life. But here's what I want you to remember, you're not alone in this. You're not the only one trying to figure out how to make these numbers work, and you're not powerless, even when it feels that way. If this topic matters to you, or if you know someone it affects, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Tell me what state you're in, how much your premiums are going up, what you're planning to do. Sometimes just knowing other people are going through the same thing makes it a little easier to handle. If you found this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to keep covering this story as it develops, and if Congress does pass something when they return, you'll want to know about it immediately. I'll also be making more videos about finding affordable healthcare, qualifying for assistance programs, and stretching your budget when costs go up. Take care of yourself, check on your numbers,